There is a question in Facebook about a quote unquote checklist regarding the paperwork needed for financially being ready for funding.
So whatever your income statement and balance sheet, your typical financial statement looks like, that's number one. Making sure that you can appropriately name how much money comes in, how much money goes out, and then what assets you have and what they're worth. So in whatever, it could be Excel, it could be, something fancier that an auditor put together, whatever that looks like, the most accurate and consistent document for your organization. That's the first thing. That's the general financial statement suite. The next one will be the budget, so that the organization understands really what you're putting on paper, number-wise, is what matters to you. If that looks like building maintenance, they're going to draw some conclusions for that. If it's salary, they're going to draw some conclusions from that. So think about, what that looks like. And that also is a part of readiness when we're preparing our budgets. Do the budgets align with what we value? I'll share a little story. I've been a member of my church here in Atlanta for a little over 20 years. And I became that person in our annual business meeting to ask if we're tithing. So we get a budget, and I look at the amount of money that we're spending for salaries and for maintenance and for all these things. And I look at the ministry dollars, and year after year, I'm asking, well, are we really tithing? And so, sometimes the answer would be, well, if you put this part in there, if you, mix this in there. And so I was that person who asked every year that, our pastors just started saying, okay, and we are tithing, with ministry. Our budget really speaks to that. So, in talking about our mission, make sure that, in readiness, make sure that our budgets align with what we really care about. So we got the financial suite in whatever form that looks like. We got our budget. And we also talked about the narrative and how important it is to be able to, in a very coherent message, a way that lays out what's important, why we want to do it, explaining the why, that narrative is a big part of it. And what I mentioned before is that if we're thinking about setting up a particular type of nonprofit, then the charter, including a mission, is going to be a key part of the documentation that we have to have. And then the other two pieces I talked about are the appropriate partners, attorneys, financial consultants, community leaders, that person in the community who really knows everything and knows the history, has all that institutional knowledge about the neighborhood, that person, those types of partners. And the final piece that I suggested was the communication and engagement, making sure that there's a plan in place. It doesn't necessarily have to be the most polished type of, we're putting this out in social media and the prettiest newsletter, whatever that is. But it needs to be a consistent plan for how the congregation finds out information and how we're gathering information from both congregation and community.